Welcome to Monday. It's July 19th, 2021. Thanks for listening and watching the Day Weather Podcast. Might sound a little bit different today using a different microphone. Should sound back to normal tomorrow. Now let's take a look at what we're watching for you. Heat, haze, and increasing thunderstorm activity. As we discussed late last week, it was going to get hot again, and boy, is it going to be hot across portions of Wyoming, Montana, North and South Dakota. The heat will be in the northern portions of the northern plains of the northern Rockies. Hottest up there. Temperatures are going to be very warm elsewhere across the central and southern Rockies, but the heat will be up north. High pressure is expanding northward out of the Great Basin, and hot conditions, especially as we mentioned in those northern areas. Now, the best thunderstorm chances to start the week will be along and west of the Continental Divide. That's where the thunderstorms are going to get started. So that's something different. For lots of the spring and summer season so far, it's been east of the divide that's been wet, but the west of the divide is going to have the best moisture to start the week. However, that moisture west of the divide starts to get on to the eastern plains and on the other side of the mountains by late in the week and next weekend and into next week, bringing better chances for thunderstorms to all areas. High pressure continues to be on top of the region, this big old high right on top of Wyoming and Colorado, and you can see this bulge northward, and that's where all the heat is getting directed out of the deserts right up into Montana, the Dakotas, southern areas of Canada. It's going to be this area right here, relative to normal, will be the hot spot right there, while cooler than normal conditions continue down there. Now, these are the forecasted high temperatures for today. Look at Montana. Woo! Hot. Western North Dakota, the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming, and the northeast plains of Wyoming likely going to get to near 100. Now, if you look at the central Rockies, yeah, it's going to be warm, but those are typical July temperatures. So Colorado, southern Wyoming, down here, not nearly as hot as those northern areas. Unfortunately, when we get into a situation like this, got a photo yesterday from a podcast listener living up in the Bighorn Mountains there in northern Wyoming. He sent this picture of a pyrocumulus cloud. You can see the smoke column right here. Well, the heat from the fire helps build what's called a pyrocumulus cloud. Pyro meaning heat, cumulus, a cloud that looks like that. You'll get these over fire areas. This fire, the Crater Ridge fire, started by a lightning strike, and lightning strike started fires will be a concern today as high pressure continues overhead. Now, this is by Friday. Notice the high pressure doesn't extend as far north. It kind of gets beaten down a little bit. And you see this here? This is a bit of an upper low that's going to get pulled into the clockwise circulation around this high. And that's going to add moisture to the atmosphere along with the subtropical flow from the southwest. And by next week, this is by next Tuesday, we see that high migrating into the central plains like we discussed last week, opening that door to the subtropical moisture. So yes, we've got some really hot, hazy weather coming. Yes, we've got really high fire danger, but the outlook is still promising for rain-producing thunderstorms as the week progresses and as we get into the weekend and as we get into early next week. Over the next 10 days, you can see the temperatures relative to average are hottest in these areas right here. The northern tier of the United States is the hottest this summer relative to average, while the southern tier continues. Look at that blue. That just continues to be the case. So the summer pattern is set. Hot in the north, not as hot in the south. Now let's see as we go forward what the moisture is going to do. Now this is for this afternoon. Notice here, if we were to draw along the Continental Divide, you can see how more wet it is west of the divide, while it's much drier east of the divide. So as you get into the mountains and west of the divide, this is where the rain chances are the highest today in this arch like this. The lower chances are going to be right here. But look what happens as we go forward. This is today. This is Tuesday. There's an expansion eastward of that deeper subtropical moisture. This is by Friday, and this is by next Wednesday. Now, by next Wednesday, you can see actually it dries out a little bit in Arizona and western New Mexico, but there's an arch of subtropical air in the central and northern Rockies. That's why there's going to be some rain and thunderstorm activity in the areas that are hottest right now. So there is help on the way. But I tell you, folks, it's going to be very, very warm to hot in a lot of locations in the Northern Rockies this week. If you look at the 10-day precipitation forecast, now keep in mind, this is just a tool that shows you where the moisture is going to be. You don't want to look at the numbers on this map and say that's exactly how much moisture you're going to get. But it does show the concentration of the deepest subtropical moisture in southern and southwest Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. But these patches of blue here are encouraging because you're going to get some decent rain-producing showers and thunderstorms in this arch as well over the next 10 days. Actually, there is going to be showers and thunderstorms on the plains, but it's going to be in the mountains and along the divide and west of the divide that has the best chance of rainfall over the next week to 10 days. Have yourself a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.